Hey everybody, Wes with Fundamental Games. Going to do another Kickstarter game campaign review. I always get my tongue twisted when I talk about these. But basically, I spend some time each week looking at a campaign that I've taken an interest in, something that draws me about it, and tell you 5 things that I like about how the campaign's being run or what created the game in the first place. And today we're talking about Deliverance. Now, I did a 5-minute video or a fun in 5 video on the tabletop simulator of this already. But when I talk about the Kickstarter, it's nice to see that it's live and see what's happening while it's live. So, Deliverance. The first thing I like about this campaign is as much as it is the same in the board game industry, it's got minis, it's a fantasy game, it's got tactical combat. It is also very much different. I believe the best phrase I saw that describes it is just down here on the campaign page from Sam Healy. He says, it's a great answer to a heretofore ignored genre, the Christian fantasy dungeon crawler. Now, I took a moment to Google, because Google knows everything, and I Googled Christian fantasy dungeon crawler just to see if there was anything else out there. And lo and behold, the first thing that does end up coming up is Deliverance. It is all over. You could find IGN's top dungeon crawlers, but really if you look at the word Christian dungeon crawler, you don't see anything else. And that means it hasn't existed in this much popularity ever. Somebody may have made a game or made a print and play or something of some type of game of their own at one point in time. But as it stands, I think this is the first one I've seen that has reached this level of popularity. If you look at some of the video, I'll just kind of go through it. I won't, I guess I could turn the volume on. I don't know if I have my volume setting on. Let's see here. There we go. That stirs the memory of a night long past. So it's a cool video. I like the video creator. I've worked with them before. I think it was David Diaz of Misa Game Labs. But just some really great way that he brings the artwork from the game into an animated scenario. So it starts off with that couple minutes of story, and then it goes into the tactical gameplay. And if you watch the video, you get a good sense of how the game plays, and you'll realize that it is based on the biblical history, but it's really focused on the gameplay itself. So it's not trying to shove people's beliefs or religion down your throat. It's just using that as the premise for the game. You are these angels in a dark time in this particular town, trying to defeat the darkness and the demons that could cause a ripple across the world and change the way light and dark are forever. And I know I'm probably totally smashing and destroying the concept that Andrew has set out, but I'll talk about that in a minute anyway. But I just really like how this game talks about being adventurous, heroic, nightmare and abyssal levels, and kind of goes through and explains how it's all played. It's just really well done for the video, and explains the theme, which is what I'm really talking about. Brutal. All right, so that's number one. Second thing I like is that Andrew was able to put together levels of pledges. And normally I like simple pledge levels, like a basic game and a deluxe game and a P&P, and that's it. But if a company or if a person has the ability to create a level that people are interested in, that gives them value for the money that they're going to invest in, I think that's important. I did something similar for my Die in the Dungeon game, where I provided pre-painted minis, which are really expensive, especially if you're only doing a very limited quantity of them. And so Andrew has a really great set of pledge levels here. First one is the Angel Investor, and the second one is first one was the, there's Angel Investor, and then there's Archangel Investor. The Angel Investor costs $750, and that might sound like nobody would ever invest that, but there you have 26 backers that have supported that level. And that just goes to show you there is a passion for this game and an interest for what this level has to offer. And then the Archangel Investor, $1,500. You would think, well, that should get 0 people. That is way too much money to spend in the board game industry on a hobby game. But again, goes to show you 7 people have invested that level, and maybe 1 or 2 of them is a family or a close contact of Andrew. But 7 people investing $1,500, that's very impressive. And what does that get you? Well, let's just kind of scroll down and see if we go down to these investor levels. So we'll look at the, not the all-in pledge, but the angel investor. So take a look at this. $750, you get the game. In addition to that, you get a set of professionally painted miniatures and the title of Angel Investor that goes on the rulebook and website. And if you look at those minis, just look fantastic. And then the difference with the Archangel investment is you get a copy of the original Deliverance sketch art and an original prototype. So again, those minis, my guess is those would cost around $50 US a piece if they're on limited quantity. So 50, 100, 150, 200, $400 in minis possibly right there, especially with the detail and coloring that they have. Could be even more than that, in addition to everything else. So again, there's a bit of a margin there, but what you're also doing when you do these type of pledges is you are giving more than it's worth, knowing that that money is supporting the creator and the business that they're trying to build in their first Kickstarter. So I think it's really cool that Andrew was able to pull that through and make those investments attractive and desirable to some of his backers. And not a lot of campaigns can do that with the level that Andrew did. It helps that he's a high-level marketer and has his own marketing company, but people still will only spend money on what they feel comfortable with, and it looks like they felt comfortable with that. Long-winded on there, but the third thing I like is how on his campaign page, he's done a lot of these. He knows what's going on. He's watched these, and so he knows that how to plays are important, rule books are important, and people getting a chance to test the game are important. So you can see here they're lumped all together. How to play, download the rulebook, TTS, group together. So once you get to that point, you get past all the investment levels. You want to know, how does this game play? There's no vague descriptions. There's no uncertainty. This is how you play. It's played by somebody. I think there's one by One Stop Co-op Shop as well. Here's the rulebook, and it's in full color with details, so that's great. And do you want to play now? And I've played it on TTS, or at least gone through and looked at what the module has to offer, and everything you need to do to play a full game is on there. So I love how he has made it completely available to anybody who wants to see if this game is their style before they put the money down. And I think that's very, very important, especially with games that can cost this level where it's, I think, $60 for a base game and $80 or $90 for the one with the minis. That's the third thing. Fourth thing I like is that this game is thoroughly tested and reviewed. So he's played it tons on Tabletop Simulator. He's played it a lot at conventions back when those were still popular or existing. He's played it, had the game sent out for other people to play. So once you get down to that point, again, a very long page, but you go through and you read what people have to say about it. And these aren't just random people who play tested it once or twice. I mean, One Stop Co-op Shop, I'm going to back this day one, no question. That means a lot coming from One Stop Co-op Shop. Take a look at Meet Me at the Table, an amazing game, can't say anything negative. Robert Geistlinger, Dice Tower, I think he used to work for one of the fulfillment companies, but Deliverance delivers on its promise of making him feel the commander of legendary angels. He loves it. Highly tactical game, Unfiltered Gamer, pleased with it. I'm not sure who Zoe is. Harry Game Lords, well crafted, lots of strategies, lots of options. So just a lot of support behind this game, and just proves that the game has been shipped out. People have played it. They do videos. If we click one of these, just as an example, click that play button there. Gonna have some ads to ignore. There you go. And so he goes through and shows you the game on the table. So it's always good to see a physical presence of a game and their enthusiasm once they talk about it. So that's a fourth thing. And then the fifth thing I want to talk about is the community building and the amount of time and energy and sheer devotion. When you're talking about a faith-based game, devotion is a big thing that Andrew and his family have put into this game. You can see him there with his wife there, who's supported heavily on the Kickstarter comments feed, and I'm sure a lot behind the scenes as well. Trying to put up with a husband when their passion is into making a board game. I can attest that is not an easy thing to do, between time and finances and mental energy, and there's a lot that goes into it. So kudos to Andrew's wife for putting up with him for that and for still sticking by him. But I digress. Community building. And so let's look at what he has done back in 2017. Back in September was when the Facebook group was first created, and I'm sure the game was in planning and playtesting even before that. But I think the true testament that Andrew wanted to build a community and a game that he did not want to stray from. Go back to this first comment back in 2017 when somebody says, please understand, I'm not savvy, I just want to understand your game. And Andrew's response to what the game is about, if you were to read the same response today, 4 years later, I think it would be very much the same. So the board game industry is seeing a great revival and growth due to the present social aspect of things that is lost to an entire generation of video gamers. Still true today, the board game industry continues to grow. As an avid fan of board games and past video gamer, a void of highly thematic sword and sorcery style game that didn't require compromising his Christian faith. And I think if you look at a lot of the fantasy dungeon crawlers out there, fantasy dungeon crawls, there is a lot of demonism, but not a lot of faith. It's more about magic and sorcery that defeats them, and might as opposed to faith. And so he still sticks to that. In Deliverance, the line between good and evil is clear. God is the source of the powers that the characters have. That's very true. If you look through the characters, they are all characters that you may read about in historical texts. The result is an experience that scores high in all areas of fantasy and adventure while still being grounded in biblical truth. Still true today. A game is great for Christian parents interested in connecting with their gamer kids, groups of friends, or soloists enjoying the idea of angelic versus demonic battle over humanity, and so on and so forth. So he clarifies the value of the project. There you go. And on the very first day that this Facebook group was brought to light, he responded. And again, you look at the page today, 4 years later, a long time in the making, probably 5 or 6 years if you go before Facebook group was created, and it just lives exactly up to what he said in that first statement. And I think that means a lot if you look at all the different channels that he's been promoting his game in, building the community in, talking to people on podcasts and YouTube videos and live streams and you name it. He's gotten reviews and text-based discussions as well. And every time it's just been a commitment to this. And again, I remember, I think it was about 3 years ago when I saw a poster, a feed about the name of his game. And I've talked about this on an interview with him as well, but Andrew was always challenged on the title, saying, this is a terrible name for a game. People are just going to think of that 80s movies with Burt Reynolds that talks about things that people would rather not mention, and it's just going to tank the game because of that. And Andrew stood up for the name of his game back then. The name exists today, and sometimes it takes defying the community and relying on the supporters that back you to make something happen, and he did that too. So anyway, long-winded, 5 things I like about Deliverance, the game of spiritual warfare. 1,800 backers almost as we speak, probably be well over 1,800 by the time this video airs next week, and over $200,000 raised. And they've only been in the campaign for about a week and a half or so. Might only be a week, I can't remember when it launched. But they have 2 weeks to go, and they only had a $39,000 goal, so it smashed that by a long shot. They're working on stretch goals, and I couldn't be more proud of somebody I don't even really know. I've talked to him on the phone and on video once or twice, but that's about it. But just really proud to see where he's taken this game and that commitment come to fruition, and all the people that are going to enjoy this game once it gets to their hands sometime next year. It'll just be great to see. So there you have it. Thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts about this game, about this Kickstarter, by all means let me know. And until next time, take care.